everybody, and welcome to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show Super Bowl Edition on Bog Radio in association with 24 Flicks, also Radio QDX out of Lucama, North Carolina, and KCHF TV 11 out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Good morning, everybody. Let's welcome to the show Antoine A.S. Stewart. What's up, Stu?
What's going on, Mo?
Good to see you. Good to see you. We have not had a chance to dissect Super Bowl LVIII, which occurred a couple of weeks ago. Arguably one of the, if not the most entertaining Super Bowls we've ever seen. A great game. Really thought the 49ers had this one wrapped up. We're going to break down the game. Kansas City winning in overtime 25-22. Before we begin to dissect the headlines of the game and the league, your thoughts on the final score, being a 49er fan?
Of course, it was a tough one. Going into overtime, a lot of things that played took place in that game. That could have been different. I'm not going to get too much into as far as the non-calls and stuff like that, the officiating, but I feel like we had a chance to put that game away. I felt like our destiny was in our own hands, and we didn't get it done. And hats off to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs for getting it done.
So we're going to bring in also, ladies and gentlemen, as Antoine A.S. Stewart marinates on the question that I just posed. Matter of fact, we're going to bring in Aaron Too Tall Moore. He's still getting himself prepared. But yes, and there he is right there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome into the show Aaron Too Tall Moore. What's up, Aaron?
What's going on?
I was posing the question to Stewart about some of the calls he felt were not up to par.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead, Stu.
Okay, what was the question? What calls were not up to par?
Yes.
Oh, the holding. The Kansas City Chiefs were the most penalized team, the most penalized offensive line for holding. And it's the second straight Super Bowl where they didn't get not one holding call the entire night. There was holding going on. They didn't get any calls. Even a lot of sound bites have been released. And I heard when Shanahan was telling the ref, yeah, Trent held, but that's what their guys are doing. If you're going to call it on our side, call it on their side, or don't call it at all. And that's what Shanahan told the ref. And of course, it didn't go that way. But again, even with that and the other things that happened, I felt like we still had a chance to put the game away, which we failed to do.
And again, in overtime, final score, Kansas City 25-22. Again, in arguably the most entertaining Super Bowl we've ever seen. Aaron Too Tall Moore, your thoughts on this final score with the Chiefs winning again?
Well, first of all, I thought it was a great game. Exciting game. I mean, you can't bet against Mahomes, man. I mean, it's just everybody. It looked like San Francisco was kind of going to San Francisco defense was on fire. I love the way they was playing. They was keeping Mahomes in the box. Wouldn't really let him get out and scramble. But Andy Reid, halftime adjustments, and just Mahomes, man. He's just a different. He's the MJ of the NFL. I mean, he's the Michael Jordan of the NFL, in my opinion.
Well,
I just think, and I know this is one of your questions about. I mean, this is not really about Brock Purdy. It's about Patrick Mahomes, but he raised the level of players. When you play with a guy like that, you don't want to mess up because he's gonna make the plays he needs to make. to make sure y'all in a position to win the game.
Yeah.
He's that type of player where, like, I don't want to, and I played with guys like, you don't want to mess up because you know eventually he's going to make a play where it's going to put you in a position to win. And that's the difference. And I mean, I thought in overtime, Shanahan should have, in my opinion, he should have gave the ball to Kansas City first, because you get an extra down, you know what you need. But at the end of, I mean, San Fran had, with everything that went on, just like Stu said, they still had an opportunity to win the game. But they didn't.
Yeah.
But they did. But that's, I mean, it's a lot of things that went on in the game. But to me, I look at Andy Reid and I look at Patrick Mahomes. I believe Andy Reid's a better coach than Kyle Shanahan, and of course, Patrick Mahomes was the best player in my opinion, is the best player on the field.
Well, with all of that being said, and I would say again, it started out as being a game that wasn't very exciting, and then we got to Usher and Alicia Keys, and that turned it up a little bit, and then we got into the second half, and the game actually became very competitive and very entertaining and compelling into overtime. I mean, that was a great game. And unfortunately, somebody had to lose that game. I think both teams should feel good. The losing team never feels good being in that situation, because you climbed all the way to the top of the mountain and didn't get it done. So it doesn't feel good. Maybe the worst feeling a team could ever have is to get to the mountaintop and not get a chance to stake your claim for being at the very top. But it was a great game. I don't think either team has a reason to hang their head. I mean, that was just a great game. And again, someone had to lose it. And in this case, if you're a 49er fan, unfortunately, it happened to the 49ers. Now, Aaron, you brought up something that was interesting about Patrick Mahomes and Michael Jordan. I posed this question to you guys. Is Patrick Mahomes closer to catching Tom Brady than LeBron James to Michael Jordan? Stu, your thoughts?
Most definitely. I think that now when you say catching, I think like in terms of, I don't like the Jordan LeBron comparison.
Okay.
I feel like it's apples to oranges. I know that's like one of the most popular talks about in the NBA. Everybody talks. I look at like LeBron and Jordan as two different positions. It's like comparing Shaq to Jordan, or they both were dominant in their sense. I don't look at LeBron as a shooting guard like that, even though he can play the two. He can play the one. He can play power forward. He can play small forward. He can basically move all around. Mike was just like a killer on that shooting guard, the guy who you wanted with the ball when the game is on the line. But I think as far as when we say LeBron and Jordan, we're talking about, I guess, how big they are to the sport. And I would have to say that, yes, Patrick Mahomes is closer to being the Michael Jordan of football than LeBron is of basketball.
Well, and I think we have to keep it in sport context, because Mahomes is chasing Brady straight up. And he's got a ways to go. I mean, he's got 3 Super Bowls. He's been to 6 straight, I think, AFC championship games, and he's won like 4 of them, if not 5. I think he's won 4 AFC championships, and he's got 3 Super Bowl titles. At 28, he's got plenty of time to catch Brady. The argument is plausible. Can he do that? Tom Brady does not like this conversation, believe you me, but we can have it. Doesn't look like anybody's going to stop Patrick Mahomes at this point. They won the Super Bowl after having a bad year. And there's been talk out there that they may get Saquon Barkley. Whether that happens or not, it's just a bunch of talk right now. The bottom line is, we don't expect the Chiefs to play as poorly next year as they did this past year. So you can have that question. LeBron James to Michael Jordan is a whole
misread
other
the question.
lane.
My bad.
What's that?
I said my bad. I misread the question. I was comparing Patrick Mahomes to Yeah, I misread the question. I would say yes, he is closer to Tom Brady than LeBron is to Jordan. Yes.
Aaron Too Tall Moore, your thoughts?
Yes, he is closer to Tom Brady. I don't think LeBron's gonna catch Mike. I think LeBron's basketball career is on the back end.
Yeah.
Where Patrick Mahomes' career is just, I mean, he got a while to go. And if you just look at the team structure, Kansas City, man, they about to get loaded because what they went through last year, and Patrick Mahomes said it after the game, the interview. He said, this Super Bowl means so much to me than the other ones because of what they had to go through to get there and win it.
Yeah.
And the adversity they had to come over, especially on the offensive side of the young receivers they had, the chemistry, and they just wasn't on the same page, but they fought through it and they got through it. Now them young receivers gonna be better next year. And then they're gonna add more weapons. Like you said, they may or may not get Saquon Barkley. If I was the Chiefs, I would. But they're going to be better next year than they were last year.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I think Patrick Mahomes is way closer.
We posed this question 3-4 weeks ago about the Buffalo Bills. If there was ever a year for them to win it all, it was this year. If there was ever a year for the Chiefs to be deposed, it was this year. The Bills couldn't do it, and they were at home. The Ravens couldn't do it, and they were at home. And again, this is a Chief team that hasn't been as good as prior Chiefs teams. And they went on the road and knocked off Buffalo and Baltimore, and then, won the whole darn thing. So you just start to wonder whether or not anybody is going to stop them over the next 5 years. And I mean, if Andy Reid decides to go that much longer, because that's what it's going to take, Andy Reid has to be at the helm, because in my opinion, he's the reason the Chiefs go. Not to mention having Patrick, because he's just a great player in his own right. But Andy Reid makes the Chiefs go. And as long as he's at the helm, I mean, they very well could catch Belichick and Brady. But I just thought I'd throw it out because I don't think LeBron is going to catch Michael at this point. I think he's done. And if, you look at LeBron and you go, wow, I think you might want to consider retiring, dude. I mean, you're in great shape at 38, 39 years old and whatnot, but you don't have any dogs to run with. And, so yeah, I would say Patrick is definitely closer to Brady. I'll throw out my next headline. How do the 49ers, and I'll throw this one to you, Stu. How do the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan look after admittedly not knowing the overtime rules?
So I think I'm gonna bring some clarification to that statement.
Okay.
For Kyle Shanahan knew the rules. I know some of the players said that they weren't, familiar with the new change or even thinking about the new change.
Okay.
But Kyle's thought was, he figured if he got the ball first, if we scored and they scored, we would have it last the third time, be a chance to close it out. That was his thinking going into it. He was aware of it. It was something that apparently they didn't rehearse too much in practice as far as going in overtime and you scoring and all of that. Cal kind of had his mind made up of what he wanted to do with it, and the players were just ready to play whatever play was called. And that's a rare situation going into overtime. But that was Kyle's thought on it. He was aware of the rule and the rule change. I know some of the players said that they weren't too familiar with it. They were used to even the old rule. If you kick a field goal, you're going to get a chance to score. If you score once, it was over. But that was, the new rule. If we scored, they would get it and they would get a chance to score and tie it up again. So that was one of the things that I think it was people were saying that Cal didn't know, and he did. Few of the players didn't know, and they admitted to the rule change. They weren't aware of it.
So, from my reading of the issue, you are correct. Shanahan did know the rules. Shanahan also stated he had gone over the rules with the coaching staff, but not the team. And there were team members, as you accurately stated, that came out and said, well, I didn't know. Aaron Too Tall Moore, your thoughts?
Personally, to me, that's a bad look.
Okay.
You go over every scenario of everything that can happen. I don't know what the big deal is in the team meeting, just to say, hey guys, this is the overtime rule.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand. It takes 10 minutes. It takes 10 minutes. I don't understand that. Like for players to come back and be like, I ain't know the rule. Like, come on, man. And then you ask Kansas City player, yeah, we go over it all the time. Yeah, we knew the rules.
Uh-oh. Not a good look. As you accurately stated, not a good look. Go ahead, Stu.
Let me say this, though. I don't get why the media was making such a big fuss about it, because even if it was the old rules, we still would have lost. We got the ball first. We kicked the field goal. In the old rules, the other team would get a chance to score. They scored, the game's over. So it didn't really matter if it was the new rules or the old rules. The game would have played out the same way if that happened in overtime.
So here's the thing. If you know the rules, right? First of all, let me say it as a player. As a player, I know the rules. I'm thinking about the play. I'm not thinking about the rules. I'm not thinking about what's going on. I'm thinking about my assignment. So now I'm thinking about two different things, which could slow you down. Now, as a coach, in the overtime rule, let's just say it was the overtime rule, the old overtime rule. Kansas City, you really gonna give Patrick Mahomes another shot to go downfield and score? Instead of trying to go for a touchdown, you in your red zone, it's fourth down. If it's the old overtime rules, I'm going for it.
Yeah,
I'm not kicking the field goal to give him another chance to go down and score.
Yeah.
So you see, and then by giving him the ball with the new rules, you gave Patrick Mahomes an extra down. Because it was fourth and 1, 4th and 2. And they said, well, we know what we got to do. We got to score. We at least got to get a fit in field goal range. Yeah. So you gave Patrick Mahomes an extra down, and they went for it on a 4th down because San Francisco defense was balling. They stopped them, and Mahomes breaks it. Yeah. So now you gave an extra down to him. So it's details. It's small little details that can help in situations like that. And this nobody in overtime takes the ball first.
Yeah.
Nobody. Now, for Kyle Shanahan to say the third overtime, who knows if it's going to third overtime? You don't know that. I want them to have the ball first, so I know what to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's the new rules. In the old rules, you want it first because if they score, it's over. If whoever gets the ball first in overtime and scores in the old rules, the game is over.
So if Kansas City would have got the ball first and scored, and then Kyle Shanahan,
that was the game.
No, it wasn't.
In the old rules.
No, I'm talking about.
I'm saying rules. In the old rules.
I'm talking about the new rules, though.
Right.
But what I'm saying is they gave an extra down to the Kansas City Chiefs, is what I'm saying. So if you kick it and they score, it don't matter. So if you give Kansas City the ball and they score a touchdown or a field goal, it doesn't matter. You still know you got to go down and score a touchdown or a field goal. It's just you get an extra down. You get that 4th down. That's the whole point. You get an extra down to go down and get some points. That I didn't understand. I didn't understand that logic when he was like, "Well, we get the ball to last." And to me,
Well,
I wouldn't have did that. I just all.
Let me just say this to you. First of all, I wouldn't have told anybody if I didn't know. I wouldn't have told anybody. I wouldn't have gone out and told anybody I didn't know. That's number one. I would told my wife and kids, "Hey, y'all, come here. We didn't know the rules. Quiet as kept. We didn't know." That's as far as it goes. I'm not telling the media. I'm not saying it out loud. I didn't know. That's the part about the 49ers that I didn't understand. It's like, yo, would you be quiet, man? Just be quiet. Take the fact that you lost the game. Nobody wants to hear whether or not you knew the rules. That's the last thing you say. You lost the ball game. Keep it moving. I didn't understand that. And added to that, Kyle Shanahan should have told his team, as you said, "Hey, guys, these are the rules." So, Kyle, you should have said, "You know what? That's my bad on that." You told the coaching staff. The only thing about it is coaching staff, they don't go out there and line up. Didn't understand that part of it. I want to move to my next headline. How realistic is it for the Kansas City Chiefs to three-peat? Stu. Okay, we're
Can you
having
hear me?
some. Yeah, go ahead, Stu.
Okay. I mean, it's realistic. I mean, they did it twice. I mean, if anybody can go do it the third time, it would be them. As long as they have that the pop star in the audience, sky's the limit.
Yeah, well, I thought that she would actually derail their season. Looks like she helped them out. They
She
got
helped the NFL out.
She helped the NFL out.
$300 million.
How about it? How about it? Good job, Travis. Aaron, your thoughts? Yeah.
Realistically, they do, but I think it's going to be tough to three-peat. Because I think you got 32 teams gunning for you. I mean, they was gunning for them last year, but it's going to be tough. I mean, I would say I'll probably give them the over, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very tough for them to do it. I actually, believe, and I'll talk more about that later. I think there's a team in the AFC that actually might stop them. But I'm going to get to that in a moment or two. And throughout my next one, we witnessed the firing of defensive coordinator Steve Wilks of the 49ers. Did the 49ers make the right decision, Stu, in parting ways with DC Steve Wilks?
The only time you can tell that is after the season. If the 49ers go and win the Super Bowl with a new defensive coordinator, this will be old history. If it doesn't happen, this will definitely be the talk of the town. Looking at the situation, I don't think Steve Wilks got fired because of the Super Bowl. The defense balled out. I think if it was anything, it was the two playoff games that we barely won, where our defense didn't show up and didn't have that Super Bowl performance. Where the offense had to go on a heroic drive, twice back-to-back playoff games, was more the consideration. Do I think he should have been fired? No. I don't agree with the firing, but I know that they better have somebody. You don't just fire a guy of that caliber without having somebody in mind of who you're going to replace him with. It can't be an emotional fire where you just emotionally, done and you just fire the guy and not have a real replacement or at least something you got cooking up. So I think it's one of those things where as far as if the 49ers don't have a person in mind that they think that would fit better with doing their scheme and what they're trying to do, then it's a horrible decision. But I don't think the decision was made based off of the Super Bowl because the 49ers defense balled out in the Super Bowl. I think it was some things that led up to the Super Bowl that led to the firing. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I'm disappointed in Kyle Shanahan, and I've never been a 49er hater, but after this, I'm pretty disappointed because I'm tired of seeing African American coaches get jobbed and shafted. I'm tired of that. Steve Wilkes came from the Carolina Panthers as a successful interim coach after Matt Rule was fired, won 5 out of the last 6, and they elected to go with Frank Reich. We know what happened with that. He went 1-11, and they fired him. Then he goes here to San Francisco with the number 3 rated defense in the NFL, and he's in the Super Bowl. And you mentioned the playoff run. Quite frankly and honestly, Packers and Lions both should have sent the 49ers back to Bay. And it was on Brock Purdy, not the D. Brock Purdy almost gave the game to the Packers. It had anything to do with the San Francisco defense. And so Steve Wilkes is a scapegoat as far as I'm concerned. Aaron Too Tall Moore, your thoughts?
I think he got shafted. It's his first year. Like you said, ranked 3 defense, total defense. And actually, I believe, I don't know if it was passing or rushing, it was even better than last year in one of them categories.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it was some turmoil, like Stu said, it had to be some turmoil throughout the season with them too, and what type of defense they wanted to call, what type of defense they wanted to run. But it was his first year, and you still top 3 defense. What couldn't you work out over the offseason to bring him back? Now, in my opinion, whoever you bring in, it don't work out, that's a fireable offense, in my opinion, for Shanny.
Well, the thing about Shanny is the guy's a great coach. Okay, his record is impeccable. I think he's almost untouchable, quite frankly and honestly, just because of the high results that he gets. However, the move to terminate Steve Wilkes is ridiculous. And when they went 5-0 coming out of the gate, and then all of a sudden Trent Williams goes down. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stu, you know better than I. But Trent Williams goes down. Deebo Samuel goes down. Christian McCaffrey goes down. And I want to say, oh my gosh, who was it? I don't know if Kittle's got injured. No, Bosa went down, I believe. And then he went on a 3-game losing streak. And then you started hearing guys say, well, we don't really like Steve Wilkes that much. He's kind of hard understanding his system. But when you were 5-0, not a word, not a discouraging, that's what the Cowboys say, not a discouraging word was heard out on the range when they were 5-0. Okay, but now you're having some adversity, and it's Steve Wilkes. He's the scapegoat because things are tough now. And then all of a sudden they came out of that, and all of a sudden they got it going again. They got into the playoffs, and they got out of there. They made it to the Super Bowl. And then they lose the Super Bowl, and here comes Kyle Shanahan saying, I think we need to go in another direction. What direction is that? You were in the Super Bowl, Kyle. What are you talking about? And then you always talk about, I'm an exotic play caller. What are you, a supermodel? Look, dude, you were wrong to fire Steve Wilkes. That was dead wrong. It was unacceptable. And again, I got to say, I'm so tired of African-American coaches getting the wrong end of the deal. That man should be employed right now, and now he's got to go out and find more work. I'm sure that Wilkes will get someone. I wish we had waited long enough to get him in Green Bay instead of hiring this dude from Boston College. Anyway, I digress. Let's go on to the next headline. And the question I have now, and I really want you to answer this one for me, Stu. Is Kyle Shanahan starting to look like a coach that shrivels in big games? And I can go back over them for you. The Atlanta Falcons were up 28-3 as offensive coordinator. You lose that one. You're in the Super Bowl 3 years ago with Jimmy Garoppolo with a double-digit lead, and you lose that one. You're in the Super Bowl again with a different quarterback. His name is Brock Purdy with a double-digit lead, and you lose. Do we have an issue, Stewart, A.S. Stewart, Antoine A.S. Stewart, 49er fan? Do we have an issue with Kyle Shanahan in big moments in big games?
I would say on the outside looking in, I say yes. What kind of gave me a little comfort was when they were comparing Kyle to Andy Reid and saying that where Kyle is right now, he's the same place Andy was before Andy won his first Super Bowl. Andy had lost a Super Bowl, the
Good
same
point.
amount of NFC Championship games and the same amount of Super Bowls and stuff like that. And then he got Mahomes and things started clicking. So that gave me some hope. But as far as is Kyle Shanahan looking like he's shriveling up in big games, I would say yes. I personally believe he lost the game in the third quarter. It didn't have to do overtime or anything like that.
Yeah,
We had the Chiefs on the ropes
you did.
going into the half, and then we start the third quarter not running the ball. We did like 7 or 8 straight passing plays and some 3 and outs, and kind of gave them some momentum and time to get back in the game instead of running the ball. They couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
Even if McCaffrey was tired, our backups were getting 6-7 yards a clip. So I wanted to just keep running the ball, keep Mahomes over there, keep moving the chains, having those long drives. And I think Shanahan, again, got full of himself and started getting pass happy and kind of let them back in the game to even go into overtime in the first place. So I would say as of right now, yes, he does look like that. And it's up to him to change that narrative around.
I love it. I'm proud of you, A.S. Stewart, for hitting that on the money, because that's exact. But I'm going to pose it to you, Aaron Too Tall Moore. Kyle Shanahan, is he starting to look like a coach that shrivels in big games to you?
I'd say no, because I mean, he's been in a lot of big games, but we're talking about the ultimate game, the Super Bowl.
That's right.
His team's been in a lot of big games where they came up big and they showed out and they showed up. We're just talking about 3 Super Bowl games. And if I could have a coach to get talked about negatively in 3 Super Bowl games, I'd take that. I mean, he's taking his team there. I mean, he has no problem in getting there. He just has a problem of winning. And
do you remember what Herm Edwards said a few years ago? We play to win the game.
Yeah.
But I mean,
okay, so we got to win that game, Aaron. I'm just saying, dude.
I will say this.
We got to win the Super Bowl, dude. That's why we play.
Yeah, you're right. But I will say this: it's tough to get to the Super Bowl. It's real tough to get to the Super Bowl. 2, it's even tougher to win it. That's why we have so many people without rings and so many coaches without rings, because it's so hard to. I don't think people understand how hard it is to get there and how hard it is to win it.
Right.
And I think Kyle Shanahan is seeing that. It's very, very difficult. And it's going to be difficult next year when he tried. But is he a coach that shrivels up in big games? I would say at this point, I would say no. But time and coming with that question is going to be a yes if he keeps making them and losing.
Yeah, I'll say this. I want to go back to something that Antoine A.S. Stewart said a moment or two ago, which I do agree with, and it does provide some solace and confidence going forward in that Andy Reid's been here before. Okay, and it's taken Andy Reid, I don't know how long, to finally get over that hump and start winning. The problem I have with Kyle Shanahan is this gutless scapegoat move he made in terminating Steve Wilkes. That I have a problem with. And I don't root for people that do that kind of crap, because that guy didn't deserve that. And to me, I'm just saying, to me, from the outside looking in, it was a cowardly move to fire that man to try to maybe vindicate yourself for losing that game. You know, it wasn't all my fault we didn't defend as well as we should have. I don't have any respect for that. I'm sorry. I have no respect for Kyle Shanahan.
I do have another kind of thing to look at in that is one thing we can, if we were looking at the facts. I know the bigger picture of it with Wilkes being an African American and stuff like that, and how African American coaches have been treated in this league as far as in the head coaching position. But Kyle Shanahan is also the coach that has given more African Americans head coaching positions because of playing for him. The last two of them, even though they're, one of their parents are black, one other one is white and stuff like that, for the Jets head coach, and then McDaniels, he's mixed too. And a lot of minorities. Actually, it's to the point where NFL owners are mad at the 49ers and they want to change the rule that stops giving these picks to minority coaches that get those type of jobs. I don't think it had to do with that, even though I understand that Cal needed to look at the bigger picture and see how it would look by firing him. It could have been a situation where Steve Wilkes so-called quits and he says, hey, this is not the right spot for me, and it could have looked better for him. I think that would have been a better situation for Wilkes. I think that Cal didn't have the same respect for Wilkes because this was a rare situation to where a guy like Wilkes has to come in and not do his system and learn a system. Wilkes said it himself, this is the first time in my coaching career that I had to come in and learn a system instead of me just doing my thing. And with that said, I think Cal looked at him as, hey man, we have the players here, we have the system. I can find somebody else to learn the system, and didn't put that real respect on his name. Like if he would have came in and ran his system from top to bottom, and his success he could say it was because of my system and not the 49ers system that they had in play already. But I do agree with you as far as Shanahan could have done a better job at how he went about doing that, and the timing and everything. It was just off. I feel like it was more of an emotional thing with everything that was going on, and it could have been handled better.
Well, your description of Kyle Shanahan is like saying, "Hey, one of my best friends is black." Let me just say this to you. Let me just say this to you, dude. I just look at, Steve Wilkes is an aggressive play caller, and he dialed it back for the 49er system, and he was still number 3 of the league. That guy is a blitzer. He is a blitz caller, and he blitzed 39% less of the time, if not more, as DC with the 49ers because of their system. So I'm just thinking, had that guy really done what he wanted to do, you guys could have gone run the table. Hey, nobody would have hardly scored on them. So anyway, that's just from a numbers perspective, and I don't have the exact numbers. I know that he dialed back what he normally does to fit the 49er system, and he did a great job. So I shudder to think what he would have done had he implemented what he wanted to do, because he's known as a very aggressive play caller, and he was hired based on his resume as a DC play caller. So he wasn't allowed to do what he wanted to do. We can argue this forever and a day. That's just my take on it. I think, again, the solace for the average 49er fan is, hey, Andy Reid went through this, and Kyle Shanahan is young, and he could break through it. And all of a sudden start going on Super Bowl LVIII. I'm not going to be rooting for him after what he did to Steve Wilkes. You're not going to see me rooting for him. I'll tell you that. However,
we may win after that.
You may. You
started rooting for us, and it didn't work.
Well, consider yourself ready. Hold on. Consider yourself ready to be fitted for a ring now, because I'm not rooting for the 49ers.
Because you put that Pittsburgh stuff on time.
That's right. So now consider yourself a winner, because I am not on board with what Kyle Shanahan did to Steve Wilkes. It was dead wrong. I'm going to switch gears and get to the NFC. I was going to ask, as a matter of fact, I will ask this. Can the 49ers get back to the Super Bowl next year? Stu?
Of course. I mean, we can get back. It's not, of course, it's a gauntlet. Every year it's not easy. You got to make it to the postseason, and then you got to be the last one standing on your side of the fence. We can do it, but it's definitely not going to get easy. It doesn't get easier to keep going back. So the 49ers have to do a great job in the offseason doing what they need to do to keep the team intact. They've already kind of started that, been changing some contracts around. The players have been willingly letting the 49ers move some money around and stuff like that so that they can keep the solid core. But again, you know, a lot of teams that weren't that good this year are going to be better next year, and you got to do it again. So it's one of those things where, yes, we can, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be just as tough and tougher than it was this year.
Aaron, Too Tall More, your thoughts on the 49ers getting back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think they can get back there. They're gonna be in the mix with the teams, but I think other teams gonna be better. I think the Lions gonna be better. The Packers gonna be better. It's gonna be teams. It's gonna be teams gunning for them because they know 49ers are in the NFC, the team to beat. You know, so well, going into next year, we'll see how in my opinion. But can they get back there? Yeah, but I think it's going to be tougher. They're going to have a tougher task to get back than this year. Than next year. It's going to be a little tougher for them.
So, with that being said, my next question regarding the NFC: are the Lions, Cowboys, Rams, Eagles, Vikings, and even the Packers legitimate Super Bowl contenders in the NFC? Stu?
I like to say playoff contenders. Super Bowl contenders, you know, that's a big one. It's the last team standing on that side. Teams like the Cowboys, they got to start learning how to win in the playoffs. The Vikings had to start learning how to win in the playoffs. You got hot teams, young team, the Packers coming on board. You got Philly trying to figure it out and try to get back to winning. And then the Rams. Aaron's thinking about where the Commanders at on that list. So you can think about, the Commanders. I know you was. The Commanders, making the right moves, and who knows if they're going to get that quarterback, Williams, or what road they're going to take. But I like the word playoff contenders as far as being more than just a one and done in the postseason type of team. And I think this is the bunch that you're going to see. And I'm curious to see what the Commanders do with all their new pieces as well.
So, Aaron, Too Tall More, in this list that I've thrown out here: Lions, Cowboys, Rams, Eagles, Vikings, and even Green Bay, are they legitimate Super Bowl contenders in the NFC? And am I leaving anybody out?
I'm not gonna say the Commanders, but I see one team. I see one team truly on this list that can give the 49ers a go, and that's the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
They had them. Detroit Lions had them in their backyard, had them up, but they let them off the hook. But they was young, they was young, and I think that Lions coach made some questionable fourth down calls, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But to let the 49ers come back in the game and take over that game. But on this list, I would say Cowboys. No, we took their defensive coordinator. We took actually two of their top defensive coordinators, and I think that's going to hurt them. Eagles, I think they're going to have struggles over next year. I think actually their head coach might get fired this year. I think if they don't start out the gate quick,
yeah, I can see that.
It may be a wrap for him. I think the Packers are up and coming, but I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender at this point. And I mean, I see the Rams probably competing in the playoffs, but the only team on this list that I see is the Lions that could give the 49ers a go next year because they just going to get better. That's a young team as well.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. The one team I think the 49ers need to really be concerned with is in their own division, and it's the LA Rams. The LA Rams did not have all their people throughout most of the year. I think Cooper Kupp missed a lot of time. Stafford missed a lot of time. And I think maybe one other person or two that was key to what they do, they were out. And then they limped more or less into the playoffs. I think they got it together over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and they got in there and in fact played a very good playoff game. And they came on the other, wrong end of that playoff game. But the Rams, if they're healthy, if the Rams are healthy, they're going to be a problem. In fact, I'm just go ahead and throw it out to you right now. I got Rams going to Super Bowl. Rams going back. So I'm just going to put it out. They're going back, and I just think the 49ers will be done. They are ranked in the top 5 in defense. So you're just going to go out there and find another guy to just implement their system and be a top 5 defense again. I'll pick Mickey Mouse. We'll do. I don't know about all that. I don't even know who's out there for them to do that. But yeah, that's my pick. I got the Rams going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. I don't see the 49ers going back. So we'll see. Matter of fact, I've got the I'll say the LA Rams. And so I'm going to throw this out to you. We're talking about the Chiefs. Who can stop the Kansas City Chiefs from going back to the Super Bowl? There's one team in the AFC, to me, that potentially could stop them. And it's the LA Chargers. With Jim Harbaugh as their new, if you go look at Jim Harbaugh. He went and made Alex Smith an elite quarterback. They didn't get there, but he made him an elite quarterback. Prior to that, Alex Smith was struggling. Then you replace him with Colin Kaepernick, and you get to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick, and we find out Colin Kaepernick's pretty bad without Harbaugh. He was terrible. And then, they don't want him to come back because he took the knee. No, they don't want him back because he can't play. That's why Colin Kaepernick is not playing in the NFL. Can't play. Then he goes to Michigan, and he has these guys in the playoff maybe 4 out of the last 6 years, and he won a title with quarterbacks that are not in the NFL. And that kid, what's the guy's name, the quarterback this year, Paul McCartney with the Beatles, JJ McCartney or whatever his name is, quarterback. He not start for anybody. He can play with the new Beatles, but he ain't starting in the NFL for nobody. And they won a national title. Now he's in the NFL, and guess who his quarterback is? Justin freaking Herbert. And you've got a great defense. You still got Khalil Mack. You still got Bosa. You've got the running back Eckler. They've got weapons everywhere. Jim Harbaugh has won everywhere he's been. Mm-hmm. And now he's got the guns to get it done. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to beat the Chiefs next year. It won't be Buffalo, and it won't be Baltimore. They've already proven they're not ready. But watch out for the Chargers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I love Harbaugh, and I think he's a great coach. He's a great motivator of men. I think that's a great situation that he's in, where he has the quarterback, he has some pieces there, and he'll be a great GM as well. If he doesn't, I'm pretty sure he's not going to have the issues he had in San Francisco, where him and the GM were going back and forth. So they'll let him get the guys that he wants and build a team the way he wants to do it. And he'll change the culture of that team and make them a hard-nosed football team with the quarterback. So I think that that's to me, that's the most exciting thing that I want to watch going for next year's is seeing what he does with the Chargers and see if they can get over that hump. They've always been a finesse team, a Phillip Rivers type of team where they can get to the postseason, but that's as far as it goes. I think he can get them into the Super Bowl with a potential to win it. So that's going to be curious to see what he does on that side of the ball.
Aaron Too Tall Moore, your thoughts. Jim Harbaugh heading the ship for the LA Chargers.
I like Jim Harbaugh, but I think it's going to take a couple years. I don't think it's going to be immediate. Now, can they get to the playoffs next year? Of course they can get to the playoffs, but for him to knock off the Chiefs, that's a tough task. I think it's going to take some time for every coach need their guys. And I think it's going to be some time for him to get his guys in there that he wants through the draft, that he wants in free agency, and for them to understand what he wants them to do on the field to be successful. Is that going to be an immediate impact? I mean, I think we're going to see glimpses of it next year. But if you go back to Michigan, if you go back to San Fran, it took a few years for them to get rolling. But even at Michigan, it took a few years for him to get rolling, to get his guys in there. So I think it's going to take some time here to get his guys in there. But once they get rolling, I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the AFC.
So before we get out of here, real quick, going into next season, my NFC Power 5, I've got the 49ers again, number 1, followed by the Lions, the Rams, the Packers, and the Cowboys. Stu, your thoughts?
I put you guys, and I put you guys in front of the Rams. I put Packers in front of the Rams. I'm cool with the Cowboys being at 5, and I put maybe the Rams right there. I think that I think that Green Bay Packer team we saw. I think the sky's the limit with that team. With Jordan Love is coming into his own. The players are really going to start believing in him a little bit more. Them even making the postseason this year and having a shot to go on to the Super Bowl. I think a lot of the locker room is going to start believing in him and casting around him. I'm not too high on the Rams. I have a lot of respect for the Rams, Matthew Stafford and company, but I think the Cowboys are right where they need to be at the 5th spot. And then I got the Rams. Then I got the Packers and Lions and 49ers.
Okay. Aaron Too Tall, what do you think of this list?
What is this fascination with the Cowboys? I don't understand. The Cowboys are not in the top 5 in the NFC power ranking going into next year.
Could have put the Vikings there. I mean, absolutely.
What is going on? They just lost 2 defensive coordinators, Dan Quinn, and another assistant who's
Aaron, they won 11 games. They won 11 games.
They won 11 games with Dan Quinn, with that defense. Now he's gone. He's gone, and you got Michael Parsons talking about he wants to leave.
Oh, did he?
You got Michael Parsons. Now, is that true? Now, let me quote this right. Michael Parsons was saying he wouldn't mind coming to Washington because Dan Quinn. Wow. Now, of course, he's under contract and he's not going to be there next year playing for us or nothing like that. But that's what he said. Guys want to play with Dan Quinn. They don't. As long as Jerry World is in there, Cowboys, their time is done. They're done. They're not in the top 5. I think I would put I'll put the Vikings in front of the Cowboys. I got
you
more.
can put the Vikings there. I mean, it's apples and oranges. I can put the Eagles there, the Vikings there, the Cowboys there. I mean, you take your pick.
I think the Eagles are done. I
I do too. I think they're done.
Yeah, I think they're done. But the rest of the teams, I do like your stance on the Rams. I wasn't really thinking about them, but you made some great points, Mo, on the Rams. And even though they was an injured team and they squeaked into the playoffs, but they played a good game in the playoffs, but they fell short. But I do like that stuff for the Cowboys.
Well, and also one more thing on the Rams. They should have been the team heading to the Bay because they got jobbed on that no PI call. Lions should have lost that. And so Rams got a bad deal.
Yeah, you're right, Mo. The Rams did get a bad deal.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Okay, look, you don't get that. We're gonna get out of here while the gig is good before we lose our Wi-Fi. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Maurice Brown Comedy Show, Super Bowl edition, the final edition of our NFL edition show until maybe I guess 3 weeks. The NFL draft is coming up. We'll do another show about the draft and what the prospects are for Super Bowl contending teams going into the next year, the final the draft itself coming up. It's going to be some interesting picks. That kid, J.J. McCarthy, is not getting drafted by anybody. Anyway, guys, let's – and I like McCarthy, but, dude, it's all about Jim Harbaugh. But we're going to get out of here on that note. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us and talking NFL football. It's been a great year. Looking for another great season. Little weeks as we'll look at the NFL draft. And don't make the peace of Christ, everybody, be with you and your families. God bless.